Hello and welcome. Today we are going to be talking about family engagement in early care and education and thinking about how to approach family engagement through relationships. So our focus for this session is to understand family engagement through a relationship-based lens, right? And so as we think about this, we want to make sure that we are strengths-based, that we take time to reflect on our own experiences and our own beliefs and perspectives, to learn about families' perspectives, and to understand the strengths and the knowledge and the experiences that families bring to the relationship, to the partnership between your program, your classroom, and families, and to identify strategies to create a welcoming environment. And so our objectives for this session is that you will be able to describe ways to create a program-wide relationship-based culture, focusing on effective family engagement, to identify and reflect on your personal values, your experiences, your beliefs, your values, and to identify ways to explore with families those same things, right? And so we're going to start with engaging all families, a strengths-based approach. And so I ask you to think about and reflect on and maybe take some notes around what you believe around parents' roles in their children's development, right? What is the role of the parent? We often hear the phrase that parents are children's first and most important teacher, right? Is that a value that you have, right? What are your thoughts in terms of parents' roles? And how do you demonstrate this belief, right? And so we really are thinking not only about what is it that we believe, what is it that we value, but what is it that we do with those beliefs and values? How is it that you communicate those values to families? And what does that look like? So I'm going to give you a few moments to reflect on these questions, to jot down some notes, and to really think about what are your beliefs and values. Okay. So as we think about positive goal-oriented relationships, these relationships are based on trust. It is so critical that we start all relationships with an understanding of the importance of trust. Parents are trusting us with their children, with their most valuable possession, right? And that we build that trust through repeated interactions, right? And that the trust is built over time, that these relationships are built over time. And so we really have to build on a foundation of the idea that strong early childhood educator-parent relationships boost parent-child relationships, which are critical for children's well-being and learning outcomes. So what does this mean, right? We know that the way that we can have the greatest impact on the development of a child, on the long-term outcomes for that child, is by supporting and strengthening the family. That by strengthening parents' understanding of child development, by promoting and strengthening positive parent-child interactions, that those are things that are so critical to the ongoing success and well-being of young children. And so as we think about our goals, our objectives with family engagement, that through positive relationships, that we can support changes in attitudes between both the educator and the family to really focus on strengths, to increase that motivation, right? That we are wanting as educators to feel that families are invested in our programs. We want to know that parents care about their child and care about their experiences while the child is with us, right? And parents want to know that we care about them, that we care about their child, that we will provide care and education in ways that match that family's beliefs and values, right? And that when we have this relationship, that increases motivation on both parts, right? That when we feel that connection to parents, we feel that they are engaged, that they are true partners, that they value us, that they value our program, we are more motivated to work a little bit harder and really show some empathy and compassion for that family, and to try lots of different strategies and ways to engage them and to connect. And when families feel that we care about their child, that we have the best interests of their child and their family in mind, that what is happening in our programs is important and valuable to both their child as well as to them as a family, and that what we are offering actually strengthens that parent's capacity to parent and to support their family, they're more motivated to engage and to partner with us, right? It gives this sense of possibility. And it really shifts our focus to ways in which, as a program, we can partner with families in ways that strengthens and supports the family and promotes positive child outcomes. And this is a really important piece. And so as we think about what is our goal with family engagement, it really is thinking about how, through our relationships, through our interactions, through the services that our program provides, we are strengthening and building that family up, right? And we are promoting positive family and child outcomes. It is not about how we can get families to support our program and to participate in activities that help our classrooms and help our program to be more successful, right? That parent leadership opportunities, that parent volunteering and participation in our program are all great things. But our focus with family engagement is really about how is it that we are strengthening that family? How are we promoting positive family outcomes, which ultimately supports positive child outcomes? And so when we think about family engagement, it is relationship-based. It is ongoing. It is not a one-step piece. It is something that is built over time and is built on numerous interactions that happen, right? That it is responsive to the strengths, interests, and needs of families. That as we think about how to engage families and how to really support families, it's not just what happens within an individual classroom within a program or within those interactions between an individual educator and that family. It's really program-wide, that it's collaborative, that it's supportive of children's growth, development, and learning, right? And that when possible, that we are supporting families in terms of all of their children and supporting them during pregnancy and those stages leading up to the birth of a child, right? So you may have a preschool age child enrolled in your program or in your classroom, and that family might be expecting. And so how to support that family during the pregnancy, not just focusing on what's happening with the child that is in the program, right? And so as we go through this content, I am going to be sharing different resources with you that has additional information. And I really encourage you to explore these resources and extend your learning and thinking of strategies to really engage families in meaningful ways. So our first resource is this Building Partnership series for early childhood professionals. So this is a document that talks about positive goal-oriented relationships and through the lens of the parent, family, and community engagement framework. And so again, I encourage you to check out this resource. So if we move back into our slide deck, the next step is to have strength-based attitudes, right? And so for families, when we think about families, recognizing that they are the first and most important teachers of their children, that families are our partners in supporting their child's development, that they have expertise about their children that we do not, and that they have something valuable to contribute, right? And so if we can start every interaction with these strength-based attitudes, that will really go a long way in building that trust and strengthening that relationship and motivating that family to engage. So as we think about strengths-based attitudes, I want you to reflect on a time when you or someone you know used a strengths-based attitude with a family. So to think about your own experiences. And when did you see this in practice? When did you perhaps experience this as a parent in a program, right? So again, I'm going to pause. And I'm going to give you a few moments to reflect and jot down some notes. Okay, so hopefully you took some notes and have some ideas that you can reflect on later as we go through the content. So then as we think about relationship-based practices, relationship-based practices describe observations of children's behavior to open communication with families, right? So we start with the child. We start with what we have observed about the child, what we love about the child, what we notice, strengths that we've seen in the child. And so we want to describe those observations as we're interacting with families. We want to reflect on the family's perspective and what it is that they value and what it is that they want for their child. What are their hopes and their dreams, right? We want to give messages that acknowledges and supports the parent's competence, that they are capable, that they are competent, that they are good parents, right? And even when that family is struggling and they may not always be as responsive to their child as we would want them to be, we have to start with that strength and what it is that they are doing well. We want to focus on the relationships between the parents and the children, the relationships within that family. We want to value something that the family finds important. And we always want to self-reflect and be aware of our own beliefs and values, our own perspectives, right? Because we want to always make sure that we are approaching families in an open and supportive and positive, strength-based way, right? And so when we have our own biases and our own perspectives that we're not aware of, that may be getting in the way, right? And that we may be communicating through nonverbal ways or in ways that we do not realize. And so we always have to be aware of our own perspective and aware of our own beliefs and values, particularly when there is a conflict between what we feel is most important for this child and what we see happening in our interactions with the family. And so we're going to watch and we're going to see an example here. And so this is a parent-teacher conference with Finley, who is a preschool age child with an IEP, so a child with a disability. And I want you to really focus on and notice what attitudes and practices you see the educators using to really connect with and build relationships with the parent.